welcome back to Black Swan Outdoors, and welcome to the homestead. Today we're going to do a video on EDC, everyday carry. So for those of you that are not familiar with EDC, the idea behind EDC is that you would carry some tools with you every day so that if you come across kind of the usual issues, problems, things like that, that you can resolve. And by being a little bit more prepared in your lifestyle, gives you the ability to be a little bit more self-sufficient. And so certainly on YouTube and all across the internet, there are EDC videos and posts. They're fairly popular. I hadn't initially wanted to do it in EDC, to be completely honest, because I don't think I could contribute much of anything other than theory on why you would want an EDC. But as part of the Dusty Defender project, we're working on an emergency response kit, and I believe that a well-rounded EDC is the beginnings to any kind of emergency response kit. So my EDC reflects certainly the ability to respond to a multitude of different types of emergencies. Now keep in mind, you don't want to carry too much equipment, kind of bogging yourself down, slowing yourself down, becoming inconvenient. But you also don't want to carry too little equipment that you, like nothing, for example, where you're not being helpful to yourself or other people. So my EDC is pretty basic, with a couple additional things that I've added on there for myself. So of course we start with sunglasses. You got to look cool when you rock in your EDC. Wallet. And keys and cell phone kind of certainly begin most people's everyday carry. Then from there, most people, or lots of people, should be carrying a mask, a 2-ply surgical mask, or 2 masks at this point. And then next part of most people's EDC, aside from kind of your essential foundational items, is some kind of knife. The knife that I have is the Benchmade Striker, which is a great knife. It's got a Tonto blade, serrated, and I think it works really great in kind of an urban context. It's a very robust, very great knife. I've been very happy with it and have been carrying it for a long time. It is a little bit on the heavy side. Now certainly I'll swap this blade out with any number of other additional knives that I have in my collection. And then next would be a flashlight. And this is something that a lot of people don't carry, and I would highly recommend to start doing so if you're not. Even if you're not very comfortable with carrying a pocket knife, I would certainly look to maybe carry a flashlight. Certainly, pocket knife always has its use in many different contexts, and you'll be surprised if you don't carry a pocket knife, how useful that becomes as you begin to carry it more. And I think you'll find the same for the flashlight. So this particular flashlight is the Streamlight Macro Stream. It's a USB charged flashlight, LED flashlight, of course. And one of the reasons why I like it is it has this nice deep pocket clip, so it seats into your pocket nice and deeply. But it also works as a headlamp as well if you're wearing a ball cap. So I like that. But it's also very small and flashlight that's not in your way. Some flashlights can be heavy and bulky. This one is certainly not built specifically for defensive purposes, which we'll talk about in a subsequent video. But this one is a great kind of everyday use type flashlight. You'll be surprised how many times you might drop something in between the seats, whether in your car or on an airline. Or I've used flashlights when we had power outages in a hotel, for example, and thankfully I had an EDC flashlight in that case. So you'll never know when you need an extra light, and normally when bad things happen, it seems to always happen in the dark, outside or inside. So certainly I encourage anyone to carry a flashlight if they're thinking about broadening their EDC. Next up, I do carry a firearm. Certainly this is not something that everyone needs to carry or should consider carrying. However, for me, I have a concealed carry license, and I feel that in many situations, I feel that I should be carrying a firearm. And in that case, I carry a full-size firearm. This is the SIG Sawyer SP 2022. It's a 9 millimeter. And I've added to that a weapons light, the TLR1 HL, and then I've also added a red dot, also made by SIG, with a 6 MOA. And for me, this setup is quite nice. Although I could certainly do away with the weapons light and the red dot. I don't think that that's absolutely essential. However, most instances where you are going to use a firearm in a defensive purpose is in low light conditions. So I think that having the flashlight for that particular purpose, whether it be to get a good sight picture on your target, or to disorient a person so that you can get away while in a very defensive posture, could be potentially beneficial. So I think that there is a lot of reason to have the extra weight of a flashlight. The reflex or red dot edition is actually something fairly new for me, only about last maybe 6 months or so. I have really enjoyed shooting that a red dot on my AR, and wanted the same kind of experience with my pistol. And I've been very happy with being able to very rapidly get a target into place, not having to close my eyes or one of my eyes. I can keep both eyes open, and I can fire very rapidly, very accurately, especially at close quarters where you are going to most likely be using your firearm in a close quarters situation. So then with that, of course, then I have my magazine. And then I do have a Kydex holster here, which if you are new to concealed carry or thinking about considering concealed carry, especially if you're carrying a weapon that doesn't have a safety, I would definitely look for a Kydex sheath for that added additional safe condition situation. So if you do have a firearm with a safety, then you could look at other things like leather. There's something that's probably a little bit more comfortable. With my magazine, or with my firearm rather, I carry also an additional magazine. The reason why I carry an additional magazine is for two reasons. One is, in the likelihood that I should get a malfunction with my firearm, I can quickly clear that and put in a fresh magazine. Certainly, that's not going to happen. I maintain my weapon, and I've never had a failure. But in a defensive situation, I don't know how I'm going to react. It's not something that I've ever done. I've never taken the life of a person, and this is something that a lot of people do not admit. When you look at many, many police shootings, people who are professionally trained in dangerous situations and may or may not have used their firearm before, they often overreact. Adrenaline gets to the best of them. They fire many more rounds than necessary. They're unable to function. And this is the well-trained police officers. Me as a citizen, honestly, I don't know how I would react in this situation. And I too may benefit from having more additional ammo in the situation that I'm overreacting or not acting appropriately. People always say to get trained, but training never gets you fully ready for the experience of actually using your firearm. Now, because I carry a firearm, I am a pretty firm believer in also then carrying the necessary first aid items to go along with that firearm. I think that if you do have a firearm with you, whether it be in a car, off-body carry, or on your person, you should have some kind of medical equipment to help yourself or other people. Certainly, if I'm ever going to use my firearm, someone is going to get hurt. That could be me. That could be the victim that I had defended myself against. That could be a bystander. So I'm definitely going to try to render some kind of aid to whomever might be hurt. So at the very least, one of the easiest things you can certainly do is carry a tourniquet. Now, tourniquets are often recommended for as an everyday carry or for any Joe situation. Tourniquets do require some training, so I would recommend that if you think about carrying a tourniquet, you should probably also consider getting some kind of training like stop the bleed training. Now, also keep in mind that in a situation, a close quarter defensive situation, a tourniquet isn't really going to be that helpful. Not as helpful as a lot of people on YouTube or in the gun community like to promote. A lot of people in the gun community, especially the trainers, are coming from a veteran perspective. And in combat, in situations where a soldier is wearing body armor and or they're in and around IEDs, you're going to see a lot more injuries to appendages, arms and legs. In a mass shooting or a close quarter situation, you're going to see a lot more chest shots, and you're going to see a lot more headshots. So carrying a tourniquet is being hopeful. And oftentimes people like in the self-sufficiency and self-defense world like to think of themselves as being able to take care of themselves in a survival or a first aid situation. And certainly rendering self-care with a tourniquet kind of feeds into that notion. So if you do decide to carry a tourniquet, know that you A, need to have training, B, know that there are some limitations to that, and C, find a good reputable tourniquet, an actual professionally made tourniquet, or one that is that has gone through the quality rigors of agencies that oversee medical equipment. There are plenty of knockoff tourniquets on Amazon for very cheap. You can go research for yourself or get training and get recommendations on what kind of tourniquet is best for you. Along with training and medical equipment, as we said, chest shots are pretty common. So for any kind of chest wound, certainly having a chest seal would be beneficial. I have also a clotting sponge. I have gloves, and then I have a Israeli bandage that works well for many different scenarios. And in fact, this is probably going to be more used in most likely in many different situations, because I can use this for a number of different first aid applications, not just gunshot wounds. So anything from snake bite wounds, as head wounds, any kind of trauma. And you'll find that not all the time when people bleed are bleeding to death. They just need direct pressure put on to that wound. In addition to the first aid items that I carry, I also like to carry cash. $200 in cash, I think, seems to be good enough on-person carry to get myself out of many, many jams. In addition to that, I carry a hand cop. A hand cop is a nylon corded style restraining device that you can use to put onto an individual who you might need to restrain or subdue. Keep in mind that you could be breaking some laws in illegally restraining somebody. However, I had been in a situation in Sydney, Florida, or Sydney, Australia, where a knife-wielding maniac tried to kill a bunch of people, and that person needed to be subdued and restrained, and it was very hard to do so with the resources that you have around you at the moment on the street. Second to that, then, is a simple escape and evasion kit. This one is ready for deep concealed carry. It can also be just carried in a pocket, for example, as well. So inside this, I urge you to take a look at our video on a video series, actually, on escape and evasion kits, and you can get an idea of what is inside this particular kit. Lastly, I carry then what looks like a Sharpie, and in fact, this is a G10 defensive tool. So what looks like the tip of a Sharpie is actually a G10 material that could be used for a non-lethal defensive purposes. It fits in perfectly with the tourniquet, as many times you would put the time of the application of the tourniquet on with a marker. So it sits very well in this kit in a covert fashion, and people would never know the wiser. But again, if I was ever to be out without my weapon, without a gun or a pocket knife, I certainly have other options such as this. Lastly, I carry a small safety pin. This is something that I've always done since hiking and backpacking. I always find safety pins to be particularly handy for a multitude of different things, and you never know when you need a safety pin. So I always like to carry a large safety pin for that reason. All of this safety equipment, the first aid equipment, is all carried in a ankle carrier. This is by North American Rescue. It is attached to your ankle by Velcro, and there's 3 pockets, and the 3 pockets are made of a lightweight Cordura non-rip nylon. So it's very comfortable. It does not flop around when you're wearing it. You can run with it, and it's light enough to actually not even know that it's there. So this is a very, very, very nice product, and something that I've been carrying for about the last 2.5 years very happily. If I'm not wearing this on my ankle, then I can wear this I can keep this in my everyday carry bag or go bag, and it is always within arm's reach. I have needed this kit in a couple occasions where I've stopped for an accident, and I'm glad that I had the kit with me. Although I had not used any of the contents on the victims, I was certainly glad that I had the kit when I was able to get out of a car very quickly and respond to that accident. So it goes just to show the value of having the equipment on you, on your person at all times, because you may or may not have the time to dig out or find the equipment that you need. It's nice to have that on you. As far as all of this equipment and where it goes, I try to keep that fairly consistent. That way I always know by muscle memory where to grab. So my gun will always ride in the same position. My wallet will always be in the same back pocket. My knife will always be in my left pocket, given that that's my dominant hand, and my flashlight in my right pocket. That way that if I did need a flashlight while I'm holding a firearm, then I can grab that easily. My ankle kit goes where it needs to go. If I need to slim this kit down, I can easily take the tourniquet out and not carry it, or carry it in my pocket. In addition to everything else, there might be other items that I might want to carry on my person as well, such as a Leatherman tool, or other things that I might need specifically for that day. And in that case, then I would just add that to my kit or supplement that. So if I went with a defensive flashlight, for example, then I could forgo my everyday carry flashlight. Or if I wanted to carry a smaller firearm, then I would carry a smaller firearm, and forgo, of course, the larger firearm. Or carry a smaller firearm in addition to as a backup weapon. Although those situations I would do at a very limited basis. So with that, that's my everyday carry. And if you have any questions or comments, please let me know, and be on the lookout for our emergency response kit document coming out shortly. Thank you.